Hey guys, it's me Rohan Singh and I'm back in another video. This time I'll be talking about the term 2 exams again. Now I talked about the term 2 exams and term 1 exams before. Earlier I talked about the term 1 exams and basically analyzed every single term 1 exams for class 10th and went deep into the question paper and the answer keys, which were really highly filled with errors in such large quantities that was simply appalling. And I have made that video with a lot of effort, so I'd be really happy if you guys watch that video. So if you're interested in watching it, click the link over here above, and let's just straight get into the video for the things which I hope CBSE has learned after the term 1 exams, and implement these things to improve the term 2 exam for everyone, and to make the exams just fair, unlike the term 1 exams which were lacking in many departments. So the first point which I will discuss is questions in term 2 exams to be less ambiguous. Now, a really big problem for many students, not just me, it's not like I'm the only one who's doing this. Like millions of students all over social media and schools and Twitter, many teachers, faculty heads, some parts of CBSE themselves are saying this. Some big politicians, etc., are also saying that the question papers this time were too hard, way harder than usual. The standard was really high for term 1, and one of the question papers being hard are not exactly a big problem. Like, I can understand raising the standard, that is fine by me, I am fine with that. The problem is that the question papers are hard in an unfair way. And what do I mean by unfair way? The questions are very ambiguous to the point which they don't make sense and logic does not really apply to them. For example, the question which I will show over here is just one question from the English paper, although there are many, since I want to keep this video short and sweet. But there are many examples of this throughout the class 10th and class 12th papers, right? This is only the class 10th version, but the class 12th has even more errors for English paper, right? So one option is so synthetic and the other is synthetic and synthetic, poor and synthetic, and poor so synthetic. These are basically the B and C are the two main options which everybody had trouble with personally. And now for the people who have given this exam, I just want someone to explain to me what this means. To this day, nobody has explained to me how this question works, and I can only hope that CBSE looks at this question and agrees that this is a really ambiguous question and nobody has any idea, including themselves. They themselves are really confused on what to do in it, and they straight up just take into consideration that whoever attempted this question will get a mark anyway, since this question is ambiguous and is not fair. CBSE, I don't know how they made this such big mistakes in pretty much 10th and 12th papers all over and again. Like, did they make these question papers in a hurry so all these mistakes just slipped through? Like, this is not something which they should be doing for such big exams which millions will be taking all across India. And if you cut their marks for no reason, students are not going to be happy, and it will lower their confidence and make the term 2 exams even worse in that case for many of them, right? It will lower everything which they've done, or the hard work will go to waste for unnecessary reasons and unfair. So the question papers were hard, the standards was high, but not in a fair manner, for an unfair manner. That's the difference. If these questions were were unambiguous and they were fair, and but they were still hard, then there would not be much of a problem with it. Nobody would be saying that the paper was bad. It was hard, but it wasn't bad. This paper was unfair and thus was in many aspects not up to the mark. The second point which I'm going to discuss is just more communication from CBSE with students. In term 1, CBSE remained quiet on a lot of issues. They were moving release dates. At some point somebody was telling that they are going to announce the term 1 date, on which date the term 1 exams will be held at some point, but they just kept getting delayed, and everybody was getting confused. I'm sure anybody who has gone through this in 10th or 12th will have experienced this at some point, but CBSE always has a sort of history of just not good communication with students. By the time they communicate it, it's late and many people are already confused and they do not clear anything up. well, even if they do, it's a rare instance where they actually communicate something quickly and effectively. CBSE will always waste time. There are many delays. Everything is just not up to the standard, and it's not like this is term 1 and term 2 are the only time this has happened. This has been going on since years, decades. I think CBSE, especially now in an online age, you think that this should come quickly, but no, it doesn't. There are many things wrong with CBSE. They do not they remain unresponsive in many manners. They only give some, when there's a lot of controversy about some question, like there was with this exam, term 1 for class 10th and 12th alike, CBSE remained quiet for a long time, and then they said one statement, two statements, and then they remained quiet again, and till the results. I know that big companies like this do not really talk a lot, but at the very least, when you are such a big organization with millions of students already registered, like, you should give some sort of communication at the very least, and communicate actively with them. The third point which I'm going to discuss is papers should be made in accordance with the time limit given for that particular subject. I know this may seem like obvious, like, come on man, this is what CBSE has been doing, and I agree, but for some reason with the math exam, I think they made a little bit of a mistake when making the paper, since they basically, the paper was to be completed in 90 minutes for math term 1 class 10. The thing is, this CBSE, and I talked about this in my analysis video for term 1, but CBSE made a paper which many people, including teachers, tuition teachers, everybody, majority agrees on this, that the paper for math, especially for class 10, was too lengthy for the time limit given. If it was 2 hours or even 1 minute, 1 hour, 50 minutes, then even that would have worked out. But the time limit which they gave was very, very small, and many students as a result had to make guesses for 5 to 6 questions, sometimes even 10. Some students I know me even guessed half their paper. Like, the questions which they gave, the time limit was small for the questions which they gave, and the questions which they arrived in the paper by itself were like 2 to 3 marker questions, even though in an objective paper, the MCQ 1 which we gave for term 1 should be filled with 1 marker questions, right? Each question carried 1 mark, but you're giving actual questions, the actual calculations and all those required are for term 2 mark and 3 mark questions. Especially for section B, which was particularly really challenging and lengthy. Section A and C were fine in retrospect, but section B is something which has so many faults and so many difficult questions with long, complicated answers and calculations, which are really 2 to 3 marker questions, and CBSE gave them in a 1 marker exam, in which basically all questions are 1 mark, and they stuck many 2 to 3 markers in there. So the time limit would have been expanded, or the question paper was made with better questions which fit the mark frame, which is 1 mark. So many ways they could have improved on this. This will unnecessarily ruin many many children's exams, which is a sad thing really. The fourth and the last thing which I'm going to talk about is wrong answer keys. This is the main point which I'm going to make here. Like, this is the thing which is practically what I talked about in the term 1 analysis, which is all the answer keys. These are not answer keys released by the CBSE, but then again they haven't talked about it a lot, and they haven't said anything on it. And by all means, I think that they agree that some of the answers which they gave some of the answers to the question papers are wrong. Like, CBSE themselves agree, many teachers agree. So I think the answer keys were correct. Like, they really were in accordance with the CBSE answer sheet. But who knows? They were unofficially, but they might just be in accordance to the CBSE one. We don't know. Either way, going by them, there are so many mistakes on those answer sheet. If you guys do not really understand what I'm talking about, then go watch that term 1 analysis video. I pretty much explain everything there. But the answer keys were filled with so many errors. It's actually fascinating to a point. Like, how can so many answers be made which are to the point are just wrong, like plain wrong? The NCERT question, NCERT book, which is basically the Bible for CBSE, since they made it, has statements which completely contradict the answer key, the answers in the answer key. So when the NCERT books themselves say one thing and the answer key is giving another thing, you clearly know that the answer key is in the wrong, since everybody is going to study for the NCERT. Like, what can you expect here? In English, especially for both class 10th and class 12th, there were so many mistakes. it's like over 6 to 7 mistakes I can count right now. Students who should be getting 36, 37 are getting 32, 31. So many students are getting bad marks who previously scored really well in English, even though by all means their answers are perfectly sensible due to this answer key. So this, so also good, answer keys which should be thoroughly researched and shown to many teachers should be released, because I don't think this answer key was made by an expert, because clearly any expert who would read this answer key would clearly say that there are so many errors in it. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching my video. Subscribe and like if you enjoyed it, and goodbye.